Hey guys, it's Donald here. This video, and believe it or not, the Rolling Stones back in the early mid 60s, they had a bunch of different versions of albums between the US and UK, and I'm not even going to get started about the other countries, I don't really know. But they actually had it very similar to the Beatles, but I think the Rolling Stones one is more confusing. Um, and I'm actually pretty new to all this. I knew the Rolling Stones for years, but I'm pretty new to it. So I researched all this. I just wanted to do it for fun, and I actually learned a lot doing this. So it was kind of good doing that. And the whole reason why I wanted to do this because had people on YouTube and Instagram and stuff that they had trouble like figuring out which album's different and stuff. But I'm actually gonna do this for you guys, and I hope I could help out. And I helped out myself basically because I looked up the information, and I did it because the other reason no one else basically did this. There was a Beatles site that could tell you the differences, but I couldn't really find the differences for the Rolling Stones. But probably wasn't searching hard enough anyway. But whatever. I just couldn't really find it. So I'm just gonna do this. It's more of a fun video. I apologize if any of the info is wrong, and please correct me there. Don't feel scared to correct me. But I don't want any dislikes. I know people you could dislike whatever, but I worked a few hours doing this. It's not just some shitty video I made in 10 minutes. I really worked hard on it, and I don't really want to get many crap from it from the people. And I know it's not you main guys and girls that I see you on YouTube and stuff, but I just random people dislike, like give the same amount of dislikes on the same videos. But I'll be telling you the differences between the US and UK albums of Rolling Stones. It felt good figuring out the information, and I hope it's all correct. And I feel like I'm rambling on right now. So anyway, I'll try not to miss anything, and I'll try my best. I'm not giving 100% detail, but hope you enjoy this, and correct me if I'm wrong on anything. So, alright. The first album that was ever released by the Rolling Stones was their UK album, just simply titled The Rolling Stones. And then the next one that came out was basically a month later in the US, and it was called England's Newest Hitmakers. And as you could tell, the album covers are pretty damn similar. The only difference is the US one looks a little bit zoomed up, but it probably isn't really. And the cover on the US one looks a little brightened, and it actually has the wording and everything. But I actually would prefer the UK cover. But anyway, for the track listings, it's not really different. The only differences that I could figure out here is the song Mona on the US album is not on the US version. And they, instead of just leaving it like that, they put their single Not Fade Away on the first album as just the opener. And that's basically it. You could kind of see it slightly shifts the track listing. Like instead of starting at Route 66, it starts with Fade Away for the US album. But then when it gets up to where Mona would originally been on the UK album, they just put the next song, which is Now I've Got a Witness, which is both track 5 on both albums. And that's basically it. So that's all the differences there. The track listings, I don't know which one I'd prefer more because I said they're basically the same, but I probably prefer the UK version, mainly because of the cover. Alright, the next album that came out, surprisingly, is a US album, which was kind of turned and had me scratch my head because the Rolling Stones are a UK band. But anyway, that album that came out second is the US album called 12 by 5. And it came out in the end of 1964. And then the next one in the UK was just simply number 2, which I think is a brilliant title there. It came out in early 65. And as you can see, once again, the pictures, the album covers are almost identical. The only difference is probably the zoom in again. and it's a little brightened on the US cover. But it probably depends on what pressing you get, if it's brightened or not, but whatever. And it has the wording on the US version, and once again, none on the UK. But anyway, for the track listings, it's significantly different. The US version mostly just has new songs again. But actually tracks Around and Round, Confessing the Blues, Empty Heart, and 2120 South Michigan Avenue, and last but not least, If You Need Me. Those songs on 12x5 were originally on the UK EP 5x5, which originally was released August 14th, 1964. So I guess they wanted to just put UK tracks on the album. And then the version of Time Is on My Side is a little different. It's the organ version. But yeah, I much prefer the regular version. So I'm not going to mention every single track, just to point it out there, because I'm not like going to say this album's on this one and that. I'll just say the ones that really make a big difference. But yeah. For the album number 2, this is the one I enjoy more. It has another set of their newer recordings. But the difference on this album, a little bit besides the newer recordings, is track Grow Up Wrong and Under the Boardwalk and Suzy Q were originally on 12x5. But from there, it's almost a new album because lots of the recordings are different. And it has a guitar version of Time's on My Side, which I like better. So I probably prefer the UK album. So I hope I could get that one sometime. The next one is a US only album called The Rolling Stones Now. And this one has a pretty unique cover. It almost looks similar to the Beatles' second album in the US, like it has a collage of photos. But this one is almost like a leftovers of the UK album. So tracks, everybody needs someone to love, Down Home Girl, You Can't Catch Me, What a Shame, Down the Road of Peace, Off the Hook, and Pain in My Heart were originally on the UK album called Number 2. So, yeah, and then the version of Everybody Needs Somebody to Love, I think is shorter on the Now version. On this album right here, I think it's only 3 minutes long. And then the version on number 2 is 5 minutes. But anyway, someone correct me. I'm not really fully sure on that for the length of Everybody Needs Someone to Love. And another odd thing they put on this album was the song Mona was, as you could refer back to, was originally on the very first album in the UK by the Rolling Stones. They just probably put that on there because it wasn't released. And then the rest of the songs that I didn't mention are probably just newer recordings. So yeah. The next one is one of their more popular ones. It's called Out of Our Heads. The pictures are actually, it's kind of good that they did something different for the UK and US, so it's not always the same. And they both got pretty unique covers. I don't know which one I like more. They're both pretty cool. I probably like the UK cover better. But this one's a little different. Like, they have some of the track listings shifted. And, but yeah, both albums, once again, have new songs. So, and it's kind of odd that the US version was released again before the UK because they were a UK band. I don't know how that came about. But, like, the US version, it has a song that's not on the UK version. But the song is called I'm Alright, which is a live recording. I kind of think it shouldn't have been on the album anyway. But it was originally on You Got Live If You Want It EP. Which originally came out in June 1965. So I guess they just wanted to put just get as many as they can for UK tracks and put them on UK albums. But and then they actually have, I'll just mention this, the song called One More Try, the last song on the US album. It was actually not even in the UK until released in 1971 on some compilation or something. You could look that up, but yeah. In the UK version, which I actually heard most of it, and I actually have it, I don't have the US one. The UK version of Out of Our Heads, it has two old songs. It has Oh Baby, We Got a Good Thing Going, which is from the Now, which is the US album called The Rolling Stones Now, which I actually didn't know that, even though I have the CD of Now, of the Rolling Stones Now. But yeah, and then the next song, Heart of Stone, was originally on Rolling Stones Now, the US album. But that's basically the differences, besides some of the track listing shifting in the US version has I Can't Get No Satisfaction. But once again, I think the songs on the UK version that are not on the US, that they're just probably newer songs that weren't released before besides the ones I mentioned. So, pretty cool album. Next one is another US only. It has the same exact cover from the UK Out of Our Heads, which I think is kind of lame that they did that. They should have at least picked a different cover. But whatever. This album is basically just an album for the US company to get money, because it's just all leftover songs. Like tracks, She Said Yeah, Talking About You, I'm Free, and Gotta Get Away. Those were originally on the UK version of Out of Our Heads. Yeah. And then the song track 3, which is You Better Move On, that was originally on an old EP by the Rolling Stones, which is it was their very first EP. It actually came out January 10th, 1964, which was basically their debut EP, you could say, because it came out, I'm pretty sure, before the first actual Rolling Stones album ever. So, yeah. And then track 5, the singer, not the song, is just the B-side to the UK single of Get Off My Cloud. And then track Route 66 and I'm Turning on You, pretty sure they're live versions. They're on, once again, that UK EP called Got Live If You Want It, which came out months before this. And then tracks, I'll just mention these. Tracks Get Off My Cloud and As Tears Go By are just singles that I'm pretty sure were already released. And then the only new songs on this album is Look What You've Done and Blue Turns to Gray. So that's basically what this album is. I guess the US company wanted to put every single Rolling Stones song on a full-length album, because in the UK they didn't really do that. So yeah, that's this album. Now here's one of their all-time best by most people, Aftermath. And I like that the album covers are really different. I really like both in their own ways. In the first one, Back Again, they did like the first album, which is probably the proper way. They have the UK version release first. And I actually love the album cover on that. I think I'd prefer that whole album more, because it actually has more songs. And it is an hour long, I'm pretty sure, or around 50 minutes, which was pretty long for an album at the time. Besides Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde, which was long as well, but this was only a single album, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, comparing both albums, they have the same title and the covers are different. But as you could probably not really tell at looking at this, the songs are not that different. It's almost similar to like a Beatles US UK release, because they have most of the songs. There's 14 on the UK and 11 on the US. But the difference they have is the US version of Aftermath doesn't include 4 UK songs from the Aftermath album, which is the US album doesn't include songs, Out of Time, Take It or Leave It, What to Do, and Mother's Little Helper. So that would have left the US album with 10 tracks, so they just figured and put a single on there, Paint It Black, as the opening track. But I would say, honestly, even though I haven't heard this album entirely, I would prefer the UK version because it has Mother's Little Helper, which I love that song. And the album cover looks amazing, but both albums are pretty cool as they are. But I was surprised that the US version was on the top 100, or in the top 500 albums of all time, and not the UK version, because the UK version is definitely the better one in my opinion, and by some others. And to go back to Paint It Black, that single already came out May 1966. So yeah, both pretty cool albums. So yeah, and last but not least, I'll be talking about Between the Buttons, which is the last album to have differences. And the UK version was released first. I didn't put a picture because the album cover is basically the same. That's a first in a while for the Rolling Stones, which was kind of good because, like I said at the beginning, they kept doing it over and over, which would kind of get old and not creative. But unless they're releasing the same exact album, they could use the same cover, but they weren't. But the only differences on the cover is just probably the logo for the record company. But anyway, the track listings, this is probably the least amount of different besides the first US and UK album release. But anyway, the only difference is they just have two different songs on both albums. Like the UK version, the songs that are not on, so it's just like I said, there's the same amount of tracks, and it's just two separate songs on each album that are not on each other. Like the UK version has Backstreet Girl and Please Go Home, and then the US one has Let's Spend Night Together and Ruby Tuesday. They just don't have all those four on one single album. But some of the track listing is a little bit different, but it's not really. It's just with the songs that were swapped off. But I would say I honestly, as of right now, I prefer the US version because I love Ruby Tuesday and Let's Spend the Night Together. But I haven't heard the UK version yet. So yeah, that's it. I got through this. I tried to do it more laid back because I was more nervous on the last video and I messed up a lot. But this one, I don't think I really messed up. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this, and please feel free to correct me on anything. I'm not gonna worry if I said anything wrong, but I'm just hoping I didn't. But please feel free to correct me because this is I'm trying to help people out. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. Peace and love. Bye.